Hi, hello. For those that don't know me, my name's Quad King, but you can call me Quad, and I am Destiny 2's armor guy. Throughout my time playing, I've had every single Quad 100 permutation, which spanned all the way from Season 16 even to now. I've achieved 200 stat points in every single category, even hundreds of thousands of triple 100 combinations. And now I want to bestow my knowledge upon you guys. With this guide, I'm going to turn your stats from something like this to super mid-max builds like these. Now, let's get into it. First, let's start off with RNG manipulation, or of course, the bucket system. Destiny 2, as we know, has 6 stats: mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, strength. We're going to split these stats into 2 groups of 3. Mobility, resilience, and recovery being the first group, and discipline, intellect, and strength being the second group. They're grouped like this because your stats actually share points. For regular legendary armor, the top 3 share 34 points, and the bottom 3 share 34 points, meaning the highest piece of legendary armor you can get is a 68. So how do you manipulate the numbers to get what you want? First, you ask yourself the question, which triple 100 do I want if I could have it? The only rule being you cannot have all 3 of one bucket. So no, you can't have mobility, resilience, and recovery all at 100, or discipline, intellect, and strength, but you can choose 2 of those stats. So yes, you could have resilience, recovery, discipline, resilience, mobility, strength, any combination as long as it's within those rules. For our example, we will be doing resilience, recovery, and discipline, as these are all highly sought after stats. You would then proceed to go to your ghost shell and focus whatever stat is the odd one out. Which one is the odd one out? Remember the bucket system. Mobility, resilience, and recovery are all in one, and discipline, intellect, and strength are all in one. Discipline is all alone by itself, so we focus discipline. Do this because your armor mods guarantees a minimum of 10 in whatever stat you chose and are more likely to drop even higher in that stat. Since in the bottom bucket we don't care for intellect or strength and we want as many points as possible in discipline, we can almost guarantee that we'll get a really high number in that stat. And on the other half, 2/3 of the stats that you want in the other bucket are pretty much up for grabs. This right here is exactly how I like to look at the math. On the left, you have no armor mod, and on the right, you do have one. And just like that, congratulations, you've learned about the bucket system. The best way to remember it is, if there's 2 stats that you want at the top and one at the bottom, you focus the one at the bottom. And if there's 2 stats that you want at the bottom and you want one at the top, you focus the one at the top. It's flip-floppy, it's very easy. So now that I've taught you guys how to manipulate the armor, I want to teach you guys how to get the armor. These last couple seasons have been probably the easiest ways to get high stat armor in forever, actually. That, of course, is focusing armor at the helm. All 4 vendors, those consisting of the war table, the sonar station, the ritual table, and of course coming from this season, the Spirit of Riven, all have their own form of focusing. They usually have a tab. You might have to scroll over 1 or 2, but then you find their armor. And this right here is the good stuff. Every single piece of armor only costs 2,000 glimmer and 2 engrams. And with your ability to get so many engrams from 4 different vendors, it's one of the easiest farms you can do ever. And noticed how it said focusing with a high resilience stat due to equip ghost mod. Your ghost mods mean everything to the armor you are going to get. The utilization of the bucket system manipulates the stats. It's a symbiotic relationship. The way you gain engrams is one of the easiest ways as well. This might surprise you, but it's just by playing the game. The Ascended Scepter, the MPA Repulsion Regulator, and the Acolyte Staff all pretty much state the exact same thing. You can use all of them to get whatever key or engram by just completing strikes, crucible, gambit, or other activities. By other activities, they legitimately mean pretty much anything. You want to do a raid with your friends? Well, after every single encounter, you have a chance of dropping an engram. Want to do dungeons? Same thing. It works in Dares of Eternity. It works in Blindwell. It legitimately means pretty much anything you want to do. So just by passively playing the game, you have a chance of getting high stat armor, which as a guy that had to go through the umbral focusing system is a blessing. And a really quick side note about the war table specifically. The war table does have upgrades that you have to buy. but in reality, you only need 2. Defiant Armor Focusing, which allows you to focus your armor into high stat stuff, and Defiant Sojourner. So when you earn a Defiant Engram by completing one of the non-battleground activities, you gain an additional engram. And remember the price of armor. It's only 2 engrams, so you pretty much have a guaranteed chance of getting a free piece of armor after doing anything. So now let's say you want the best of the best stuff, the best possible armor ever. That's when we get into Artifice Armor. Now you might be asking, Quad, what is Artifice Armor? Well, simply put, it's regular armor with an additional mod slot that allows for a +3 in any stat you want. This is a mid-maxer's ultimate paradise. It's what keeps me going for those Quad 100s. Right now, I am at 4 out of the potential 9 permutations. And my current goal is to get Quad 100s in all 4 middle stats on Titan, which actually requires me to have 93 base armor, Artifice Armor. But that's enough speaking. Let's talk about how to get it. Simply put, you get Artifice Armor from Master Dungeons, those being Grasp of Avarice, Duality, Ghost of the Deep, and finally Warlord's Ruin. Grasp of Avarice is by far the easiest one to do since it's the oldest dungeon with Artifice Armor, and us as Guardians are so power crept that we kind of just one phase everything. The best place to farm is by far the final boss. You get 2 drops, you get supers, it's super easy. Then after that is Duality. Again, you'll be farming the final boss. There was a glitch where Galron used to be able to fall off the map, and after that I think Bungie kind of nerfed the rolls, which is why I don't have it in first. But still, Duality is a very good place to farm, and it is actually this week's farmable dungeon. Then of course there's Warlord's Ruin. I put Warlord's Ruin in third because the boss you'd be farming is actually the first encounter. It's incredibly simple to one phase. Close range boss with a lot of adds, which allows Surrounded to be procced. This boss is incredibly easy to DPS, but it being the first boss only allows you to get 1 drop per run. So while it is, yes, easy, it's less efficient than the other 2, which puts it in third. Then lastly is Warlord's Ruin. While the first encounter is farmable, it's way too long for you to actually want to do it. And then after that, there's no boss where you really want to keep farming it over and over. Most Ghost of the Deep encounters are way too long to actually want to be done. And don't even get me started on the final boss encounter. Not only is it too long, but there are also adds that can just straight up one-shot you. There's moths, there's Lucent Knights. Don't do it, it's not worth your time. And remember, this is considered a double farm because dungeons also give engrams. So even if after a long grind session with your friends, you didn't get much really good Artifice Armor, you can then proceed to go to the Helm again and turn in those engrams for even more armor. So either way, you'll be just fine, I promise you. And the last thing I want to talk about is exotic roles and armor. I always see that there's a lot of confusion about what's the highest exotic role, this and that. I'm going to clarify it for you right now. Highest base exotic you can get, it's a 71. Clear cut and dry. It does not get any higher than that. But this does not apply to every single exotic. Some exotics have intrinsic stats. Which ones exactly? Pretty much everything before Shadowkeep. I even have a list of all the intrinsic stats of every single exotic that has them. Just know that all of those stats will always be in mobility, resilience, or recovery. Make sure to have that entire list in my description somewhere. You'll be able to find it. It's really good to just keep on hand with you. And then on top of that, there are exotics with a guaranteed minimum of 10 in a certain stat. And these guaranteed minimums are very important for a certain reason. They also act as a ghost mod. So remember way back when I said it will guarantee at least a minimum of 10 and be higher? Same thing applies here. You can utilize both an armor mod and the intrinsic on an exotic, but you have to make sure that they're not in the same bucket. Whenever you double focus into the same bucket, it will cancel out one of those focuses. So let's say you used Icefall Mantle, which as we can see right here has a minimum of 10 resilience. If you focus to 10 resilience, it won't guarantee a minimum of 20. So the best thing for you to do is focus outside of that bucket entirely. If I'm guaranteed a minimum of 10 resilience, what's another stat in the bottom 3 stats that I would want? If I want discipline, just focus discipline, intellect, strength, strength. It doesn't really matter. You're done at that point. And just proceed cautiously with everything. And just like that, your lesson on armor, for now, is done. that's pretty much everything that you need to know to actually make good high stat builds. And if you learned something from any of this, really, it would be much appreciated if you dropped a follow. I am trying to bring the knowledge that I know to YouTube. I do have a TikTok channel where I also post stuff. And if I see that you guys over here are really liking it, I'll definitely try to post longer pieces over here. I really appreciate you guys listening. Be safe. Send to your friends. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah. See you guys later.